It's good to see you tonight.
Good
Thank you so much for being with us.
Good to see you too, Martha.
So, I want to begin. There had been so much change, obviously, in the past few weeks, over the past month, when you look at North Korea, when you look at decisions being made in Syria. So I want to ask you just a broad question. As you watch this president in action, how do you think President Trump is doing on the world stage?
I think on a number of these issues, he's doing really quite well, and his administration is breaking some China, to be sure, and doing things in ways that perhaps others might not do them. But you can't argue, for instance, with North Korea that they're actually perhaps going to get results. I'll tell you, when I first heard that the president had on the spot accepted an offer from Kim Jong-un to meet, I thought, oh my goodness, what is he doing? And then I thought, well, nothing else has worked, so maybe you should give it a try. And I do think that then CIA Director, now Secretary Pompeo, having gone to Pyongyang, we didn't even know about it. That shows some skill to pull that diplomacy off. And so they've got a real opportunity. I hope the president really is well prepared for Kim Jong-un, who is a different kind of guy and will try to exploit loopholes. And we have to remember the nature of the regime. This is a brutal regime. But if they can get on the road to denuclearization and on the road to peace on the Korean Peninsula, terrific. It'll be great.
You make such a great point. I mean, I think in this moment, there's so much focus on he and the leader from South Korea, hopping over the curb, and everything looks sort of happy and go lucky. But, you think back to Otto Warmbier, you think back to the half-brother who was assassinated in the airport. What would you advise? If you were to advise the president about this meeting, what would you say to him?
I would say first and foremost, try to set the tone, set the table, but then let the details be negotiated by your experts, by your secretary, by others, because there are a lot of other countries that have something at stake here. I mean, the Japanese have a lot at stake. I wouldn't be in a hurry to make pledges about what's going to happen with American troops on the Korean Peninsula, because American troops in Korea are a stabilizing force, not just in Korea, but in the region as a whole. I would also be very certain that you're getting good step-by-step ways to get inspectors into North Korea. We don't actually have very good intelligence about the North Korean programs, and having inspectors on the ground can help. So take your time. Go ahead, set the table. But don't try to get too much done in that first meeting because you don't want to raise expectations and then disappoint them. This is a real opportunity. This is a real opening, but it has to be exploited in the right way.
Yeah, President Bush obviously has been very careful in his comments about this administration, and he's always said that he respects the job of the next president, and there's only one president at a time. But President Trump sometimes takes a shot at former presidents with regard to how they handle these things. Here's a soundbite as an example.
Other presidents should have solved this problem long before I got here. And they've been talking for 25 years. And you know what happened? Nothing. The Bush administration did nothing.
Well,
what goes through your mind when you hear that?
What goes through my mind when you hear that is you have to respect your predecessors and how difficult some of the issues that they dealt with were. What has changed here, and I think what has given President Trump the upper hand, is that when the North Koreans got close to a nuclear weapon and delivery system that could reach the United States, people actually began to believe, and he deserves credit for this, people actually began to believe that the United States was not going to tolerate that, that we would go to war on the peninsula rather than allow that to happen. And I do think it got the attention of the Chinese in ways that, frankly, we were unable to do. But I would say that there is still a long road between where we are now and the verifiable denuclearization of North Korea. And I just want to repeat, this is a truly awful regime. And one has to be very careful that you don't lose sight of that. So, yes, I wish that other administrations had solved it, but this is hard stuff, and I think the president's going to find out it's hard stuff.
Indeed, it is hard stuff. Political risk is also hard stuff right now. That's the name of your new book, the title of your new book. And you give some really fascinating examples. Facebook, companies that are dealing with things that they never had to deal with before. Tell us what we should know about political risk.
Well, political risk is an effort to say to companies and organizations the sources of political risk are now multiplying. It was once in the 70s that you worried about some socialist dictator expropriating your property. That's not your problem now. Your problem is a great power like Russia behaving badly, interfering in American elections, and using a social media platform, actually using the social media platform and then bringing disparage on that social media company. And so that's a different kind of political risk. You have what happened to United Airlines. Everybody with a cell phone is a reporter. Everybody with a cell phone can document bad conditions. When you have supply chains that are reaching all the way into China and we've got talks of a trade war, you're at risk. So the sources are multiplying. Be careful. Be on your P's and Q's. Watch for what's coming around the corner.
Good advice. Former Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice, thank you so much. Great to see you tonight.
Great to see you too, Martha.
That is our story from West Virginia. Morgantown, West Virginia tonight at the Metropolitan Theater, the site of many primary debates and here to come as we follow them across the country in the 2018 midterms. Next Tuesday, May 8th, Brett and I will be covering the primary elections in 4 states. Tucker's up next in D.C.